Now today I have a strategy for you that some of you I already know are going to really like, and I also know that some of you are going to absolutely hate it. And the reason some of you are going to hate it is because it's a set and forget strategy. Now we've done a few of these recently. We've done the laying the court strategy and the laying the field strategy, or the double and bust strategy I should say. But both of these are strategies where you can set it all up, leave it and never touch it again for the rest of the day, and then just go check on how it goes. They are what are called set and forgets, or in other terms they're also called bets, because there is no element of real trade in it. There's no real-time trading involved. There's no minimizing your stake. Majority of the time with these, you either lose your full stake you're putting in or you get your profit. There is no middle ground. So it is more like a bet than it is a trade, but still some people prefer to call it a trade because of the research and other aspects that are involved with it. But I've still done a little bit of research on this one, so we're going to get into it and see just exactly how it works. So this set and forget all revolves around the first half goal scenario. So the majority of the time now, the odds you can get for over 0.5 goals in the first half is quite good. Now when it comes down to it, over 0.5 goals in the first half does just mean a goal is scored in the first half. It is that simple. There's no other ways around it. If you want to find it on BetFair, you just have to load up the match of your choice. So for example, Italy, North Macedonia, scroll down on the left hand side, first half goals 0.5, and then you put it on over 0.5 goals. So that will be a first half goal to be scored. Now the requirement that I found on the video I watched, which was by BetFair Trading community about this strategy, they suggested that there were certain guidelines you should follow when you look for matches for this selection. And what they suggested were that you have average match goals in a game of over 3 or equal to 3, and then you also have average over 0.5 goals in the first half. You want that over 50%. So to find them stats, if you're someone who doesn't use any sort of big platforms or software or anything like that, you're just going to come over to Soccer Stats. It is that simple. And let's just use, for example, Accrington versus Gillingham this weekend. Now if we take a look at this, you can see the huge variety of stats that are available for this, but the stats you're going to want for this set and forget strategy are over here in the goal statistics column. This is going to give you the home team's statistics for when they're playing at home and the away team statistics when they're playing away. So it gives you a nice variation, gives you a nice big bulk of stats you can look at. So when you're looking at Accrington Gillingham, you can see that Accrington at home this season have got a goal in the first half, or there's just been a general goal in the first half. Doesn't necessarily mean they've scored, but there has been a goal in the first half 84% of the time. Whereas if you look over at Gillingham, it's 68%. Now this would match up with the first bit of criteria, the over 0.5 goals in first half equal to or over 50%. So that one there is already looking like it would be a good shout. Then you want the over 2.5 goals for the total end of the match. Apologies, you want the average goals scored and conceded to be either equal to 3 or above 3. So you can see in this scenario here, it's Gillingham who are letting you down to place this one. So if you were following this strict criteria, you would not place your stake on this selection because there doesn't seem to be enough goals either scored or conceded by Gillingham in a match. You're just a little bit shy of it. Now I've just spent about 4 or 5 minutes there looking through a big selection of fixtures for this coming weekend, the weekend after, and there was very few selections that were available. Now this is just because obviously it's an international break, so the majority of international matches, there's not a huge range of stats available for you to do your research. But when I've looked over the League 1, League 2, non-league, everything like that, there's been very few matches to select, which can prove to be a good thing because you're following strict criteria, so you know when it does come up, it's hopefully going to give you the best possible chance of getting that trade profitable. But it also does mean it's not going to happen all the time, which is a bit irritating for these set and forgets. When I use my set and forgets, the ones I mainly use are double or bust with horse racing and laying the court with tennis. I can do 3 to 5 of these a day, and that's with very minimal research on the events. So when it comes to something such as this, where the profit's probably only going to be around about 40% maybe, it's not really worth the time putting in all the research in my opinion. But we did manage to find one here. You can see over 0.5 goals at half time, both were over 80%, so that's well in with a shot there. and then average goals scored and conceded a game, you've got Accrington at home got 3.16 and Cheltenham away have got 3.32. So then you just go find that match on Betfair, go to first half goal over 0.5 and put your stake in on the back column. Now, for the purpose of this video, I wanted to get a good variety of fixtures available, but obviously, like I said, there hasn't been that many available where it met both the criteria from the Betfair Trading community. So what I've done instead is I've just gone for the over 0.5 goals at half time statistic at the bottom. But when I've looked at these, I haven't gone for that 50% they suggested, because the fact I've adjusted it a little bit, I wanted to make it a little bit more secure. So I've mainly gone for games where there is over 75%, if not 80%. And what I've done for the past week is I did, first of all, 20 matches without doing any research. Just flat out picking 20 random matches, seeing what would happen if I stuck a tenner on the over 0.5 goals at half time. And you can see just how many of these won. Now you can see over on the right hand side, we managed to get a 50% strike rate. 50% of the time it hit, 50% of the time it didn't. And you can see if it hits, what stake we were roughly getting, and if it didn't hit, we were losing our full stake. So if we'd have done this with no research, we got a minus £51.89. But then if we come over here and switch it to the week when I did some research on these, you can see it did hit a lot more. It was a 70% hit, but it was also much lower odds. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen all the time. It will obviously vary. It's still just football. You can't always predict what's going to happen, and it's not always going to be these exact odds. So although if I'd have done all these, I'd have made a loss, even with the research, that is because I wasn't being completely selective with my games. I wasn't prioritising the ones with the better odds because there weren't any there. I wasn't doing loads of in-depth research. I was just doing a blanket quick look at this strategy, and you can see that with the research, even though I didn't fully use the selection criteria provided, I still got a better strike rate than without it, but I still would have made a loss at the end of the day. And ideally, if you were using this strategy, I would recommend that you do get that full criteria. You want that to be over probably even 60 to 70% of the time over 0.5 goals at half time. You also then do want that average scored and conceded for the home team and the away team to be above the 3 goals. That way you know both teams are either letting goals in or scoring them, and there's always goals coming in the first half as well, just so you give yourself the best chance for this, because at the end of the day it is just kind of like you're researching for a bet rather than actually trading. But also, I'd recommend when you're looking at your odds available, try and aim for above 1.45, if not above 1.5. And that way, even with a 70% strike rate in this case, you would have then made some profit. It wouldn't have been a huge profit, but it definitely would have helped. I feel like if you're placing it on the ones I've got down here, the 1.27 or the 1.36 or even these 1.41s, it's not really going to be profitable, even if you're getting that strike rate consistently. Because as you can see here, I got 70% of the time I was getting these trades done correctly, and we still made a loss. So you are going to need higher odds, not huge odds, but looking at that 1.45 and above, then you can kind of be a bit more, well, you'll be a bit more likely to get profitable. Now, whether or not this is a strategy you think you'll like, or you'll use, or you won't use, or you really dislike, do let me know down in the comments. I'm not going to use this one personally. We might look into it a bit longer term and see what the strike rate's like and how often them odds come up. And if I find a match from time to time that has really good odds and a really good research backing behind it as well, then we might give it a go. But in my opinion, when you come to use these sort of set and forget bets, especially when it comes towards football, I just don't really feel like you can predict the market as much and predict what's actually going to happen in the game. When it comes to horse racing and tennis, the tennis odds fluctuate so massively, you're going to be able to get a profit quite frequently. With horse racing, the research really does pay off. And if you find a horse that's double or busted 80-90% of the time, they're a lot more likely to come in for you. But when it comes to football, it just doesn't. The majority of the time, research with football doesn't correlate, because it is still just 11 men on the pitch. It can just change drastically. But Let me know what you think down in the comments. See if you want to go use this strategy yourself. Let me know if you've got any other set and forgets you want to see me try out and do a little bit of research on. Let me know if you just hate them even. But thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.